Hi, boys and girls. Thanks for joining Buddy and me for another story time. Today we have a really good book. The title is A Flood of Kindness, and it's written by Ellen Leventhal and illustrated by Blythe Russo. A Flood of Kindness. Let's take a look at the cover. I see a chair underwater, I don't know if you can see it. And I see a bird sitting over here and this girl holding a teddy bear in a boat. What do you think has happened here? I think the title gives it away. It looks like that she's been in a flood. Wow, that could be very scary. Let's see what this book is about. A Flood of Kindness. The night the river jumped its banks, everything changed. Water swirled over the curb, rain pounded the pavement, lightning cut the sky. Even though I was too old for him, I grabbed my teddy bear and dove under the covers. Still, it rained. Thunder rattled the roof. Mom! Scrambling off the bed, my feet squished deep into wet carpet. We piled towels upon towels next to doors, but still, water seeped in, up to my ankles, my shins, and higher. Let's go, Charlotte, called Mom. They're here. Dad lifted me into a boat. My street had become part of the river. Still, it rained. Raindrops stung my eyes. I pulled my coat over my head. The boat bumped and bounced until safety. I climbed out and wriggled my toes in my soaked shoes. We shuffled into a building where a boy gave me dry socks and sneakers. Someone wrapped me in a blanket, but still, I shivered. Look, buddy, it looks like the girl and her family are going to stay in a shelter for a while. They'll be safe and warm there. Let's keep reading. Small cots crushed up against each other. Mamas rocked crying babies. I squeezed Dad's hand. A girl looked up from a book and waved. I didn't wave back. When can we go home? I asked. Dad folded me in his arms. I'm not sure. The long night ended, but the rain didn't. More and more families poured into the building for shelter from the storm. I squeezed between my parents. There's no more room. Soon, my stomach grumbled. I stood in a zigzaggy line and someone handed me a peanut butter sandwich. I missed Dad's chocolate chip pancakes. And still, it rained. Sounds echoed everywhere. Sometimes a rumble, sometimes a roar. I buried my head in Teddy. Until finally, silence. Mom, can we go home now? I asked. Not yet, Charlotte. My lip trembled. When? When the water goes down. A few days later, I heard people calling to each other. The buses are here. On the way home, we passed piles of broken toys, moldy mattresses, and sopping clothes. Someone else's teddy bear was face down in the mud, wet and alone. I choked back a cry. Whose best friend was he? I held Teddy close to me. Back at home, family treasures littered the floor. Toys floated in puddles of water. Books fell apart in my hand. Even the walls felt soggy. Everything was ruined. I stamped my foot. "It's not fair. I want my things." Mom whispered, "We can't stay here." Tears sprang to my eyes. As we bumped along the road back to the shelter, I saw people working together, carrying mounds of wet laundry to their cars, throwing ruined mattresses to the curb, and clearing fallen branches. Children my age handed out food and water. I wiped my tears and wondered, could I ever do that? When we returned, the shelter was buzzing with activities, but I felt helpless. Teddy and I flopped down on a cot that wasn't my bed in a building that wasn't my home. A girl with the book walked toward me. I looked down. She tapped me on the shoulder. "It's yours," she said. "It's time to pass it on." I reached out my hand. "Thank you." Glancing out the window, I spied a little boy huddled under a tree. I sat down next to him. "My toys drowned," he said. "Mine too. I used to have a teddy like that," he said. My stomach flip-flopped. I glanced at my feet. Borrowed socks kept them warm. I didn't have a book, but a kind girl gave me hers. We weren't home, but Mom and Dad still kissed me before bed. I bit my lip, gave Teddy one last squeeze, and placed him in the boy's arms. "He's yours. It's time to pass him on." The boy snuggled with Teddy and smiled up at me. And for the first time since the river jumped its banks, I smiled too. Well, what did you think about A Flood of Kindness, boys and girls? Did you have any feelings while we were reading this? I did. How about you, buddy? I had the feeling of fear. Certainly the girl and the others in the flood were afraid, but I also had the feeling of hope. The hope that people came to rescue them and help them, and the hope that their lives will be normal again, and the hope that we can count on people to come and help us. And just like this little girl helped that little boy, wow. I hope that we can all be those kind of helpers, that when someone is experiencing something that's scary or devastating, like a flood or a hurricane or a fire or any kind of disaster that hurts people or hurts families or destroys home, I hope we can be the kind of friends, just like this little girl and all the other helpers in this book, and we can help others, because that's what friendship and being kind is all about. Well, thanks for joining Buddy and me for A Flood of Kindness, and we'll see you next time on Storytime. Bye, everyone.